We're now 6 days away from the 2024 presidential election day. Voters are still split, according to the polls. For undecided voters, they want to know how the candidates would affect their daily lives. Maureen Kyle went one-on-one with prominent Northeast Ohio politicians to get their takes on each candidate's economic plan.
One of the biggest issues voters say they are concerned with is the economy. Will the person elected to the White House be able to come up with a solution to the growing costs of housing, groceries, and gas, while also making sure our U.S. companies grow? I asked a Republican, a Democrat, and a political science professor what they thought of the candidates' plans. Let's start on neutral ground with Case Western Reserve University's Justin Buchler.
The candidates are quite different in their approaches to the economy. Vice President Harris, who has proposed a rather extensive series of economic controls, which have gone so far as price controls on groceries. Former President Trump, whose policies are very focused on tariffs and fighting trade wars. So we have candidates whose economic policies are very far apart in very different ways.
Using multiple sources, including interviews done by the candidates themselves, Buchler is correct. Former President Trump's economic plan focuses on substantial tariffs on goods imported from China and Europe, calls for lowering the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15%, and says he would work toward more tax breaks for lower-income Americans. Vice President Harris's plan focuses on more microeconomic policies, proposing plans that would reduce prices on groceries, prescription drug prices, and housing costs. We wanted to ask our former elected officials what they thought. Let's start with Democrat and former Secretary Marcia Fudge. What do you think of her economic policy, and how would that change the trajectory of us as a nation?
She is focused very much on the economy. When people talk about inflation, most people don't even know what they're talking about when they talk about inflation, but when they talk about the economy and they say, oh, I'm worried about inflation, the biggest driver of inflation is housing. People will talk about gas, they'll talk about the prices at the grocery store, but the biggest driver is housing. Immediately when she became the nominee, what did she start to talk about? Housing, affordable housing. She talked about how we get small businesses started.
We asked the exact same question to former Republican Congressman Jim Renacci. He said that both candidates will have trouble passing any economic policy through Congress, but I pressed him on specifically former President Trump's plan. You said that it would be hard to pass, but let's say they do pass. What do you think in terms of, for Americans, their daily lives?
Former President Trump, I know exactly where he's going. Some of this is a national security issue. We don't want China and some of these countries to become stronger, so he wants to put those tariffs on them. His policies, again, will help avoid China from growing in our country, but at the same time, they're going to be costly, because if you add a tariff to a product coming in from China that isn't built here yet, then the American people have to pay for it.
Bringing it back to Case Western professor Justin Buchler, I asked him which plan he thought would be better for the country. He said he didn't think either plan would be what our economy needs. You can get all of our election coverage on WKYC.com.